Yo, and welcome to a very special episode of Crate 808. Today we have none other than MysDiggi, aka Maestro in the house. Man. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. How are you, man?
I'm all good, Good
man.
To
finally make it here in the 808 Towers, boy. Making this happen.
It's been a minute, innit?
Yeah, it's been a while, man. Last time I saw you was summer, was it? Last year?
World Cup time,
World Cup wrap-ups, boy.
Yeah,
that was fun, man.
Bleacher Report.
That was a lot of fun. And, because heads didn't really know. I'm not even a football head like that. But it was like, if you want me to write about something, I can write about something.
What I'm talking. That's a true artist, man.
Yeah.
Talented.
That's
what I'm saying. You know, jump in no matter what.
Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, man. So today we got quite sort of special, because usually we talk about interviews and we have what's your perspective on the 90s and like the culture nowadays. But I asked you specifically to bring in an album. And I was saying, you know what? Let's talk an album. So what album you brought in today, my Steve?
Boy, I brought in my favorite hip hop album. I've got to say, it's probably my favorite hip hop album because of the fact that I think I first heard about it when I was probably as young as 10 or 11 or something.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because my mum took us to a babysitter, and that babysitter's neighbor used to play hip hop out of his window.
Oh.
So when we're in the garden, I was hearing a lot of this music. I was hearing, Public Enemy, I was hearing NWA, then hearing this album. So I mentioned NWA, that's a bit of a giveaway, but my favorite album is Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted.
Here we go, bro.
Yeah, and this came out, obviously not knowing, being that young, I didn't really know what he's on about.
Yeah.
Obviously, my mum let me play out from really young. So from the age of 8, 9, I already kind of knew what the streets was and what it was about.
That is a steep education into hip hop, man.
Yeah, and because my friends are all older than me as well.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was like the little brother that people would bring along and whatnot. So I got quite an understanding of the streets and whatnot. So basically the guy who was next door from my babysitter is a graph writer called Teach. He's like well-known worldwide or whatever. So he used to be playing all this music out of his window. And I used to be like, what is this? What, I knew about rap from stuff you might have seen on Top of the Pops or, but not really knowing that there's this whole culture out there. I'd been introduced to body popping and breakdancing via like friends at school, as well as my god brothers, who when we used to visit them, they're going to the landings, take like cardboard boxes out, break them down, and then they'll start doing all their stuff with the shell suits on. And I never really, I didn't really get what it was because you're just a kid looking at all this stuff, but it looked cool to me. Do you know what I mean? And so there was that sort of introduction, and then into the b-boy world. But then in terms of the music, it was just the stuff I was hearing, Public Enemy, Big Daddy Kane's and people like that, Rakim, out of this guy's window. Until one day I got to ask him, like, what is that? And then he showed me the tapes, because these were all tapes then.
Oh.
And it was like, I'm looking at, obviously, Straight Out of Compton, Easy Does It.
Oh, mate. He's probably a gangster then.
Yeah, well, he was listening to all his gangster music, but as well as the other stuff, like
Public
I said,
Enemy and
Public
stuff
Enemy,
like that.
Juice Crew and whatnot. But a lot of his stuff was tapes. And then luckily there was another neighbor on that same, I remember it wasn't any of my neighbors, it was like the babysitter's neighbors who had some of these tapes as well. And somehow I managed to get hold of those tapes. I can't remember exactly how. I think it was I was probably about 12, 13 or something like that. So I had like Straight Out of Compton, I had Easy Does It, and I had America's Most Wanted on tape. And I used to batter Ice Cube's America's Most out of the three of them.
Yeah.
So I did have an understanding that he was in NWA. Like back then, I never had cable. A few other friends had cable. So it was always like, every 2 weeks or something, you might go around to that guy's yard and then watch whatever he's taped off cable, and then also watch some UMTV live, UMTV Raps live, and all that. So we would get an understanding of what this meant and the culture of it. But it was just only through years of listening where I was like, oh, this has got to be my favorite album. Like the slang, there's so much stuff that I didn't have a clue what gaffling was. When he's saying she's giving up the cock, I'm like, wait,
what does that mean?
Yeah. What does that mean? There's so many different things that only until much later I understood what this meant. So I think because of that as well, it's like you're still deciphering this LP, the words in this LP as you're growing. At that time, the times when I'd really got into this, then the Ice Cube Without the Jericho came out, and it was all like
The afro.
Yeah, and it was all a bit slower, and I guess it was a good day.
It was though.
Yeah, it was a bit too happy. I preferred Angry Ice Cube. I preferred America's Most Wanted. I preferred Straight Out Compton Ice Cube.
Yeah.
All the rest where everyone's no death certificate and this and that. I'm like,
it's
all
not
right.
it's a very different,
aggy,
very different though, very different.
Very
but
different.
yeah, man, we are going to get into this album. We're going to dive in. We're going to have some great 808 staples to talk about this album.
Wicked.
First of all, though, MysDiggi, before we jump into it, man, I ain't talked to you for a minute, so I need to ask you something we ask every one of our guests. What is the least hip hop thing you've done in the last 24 hours, bro?
The least hip hop thing I've done, probably played a cameraman on a reenactment of a TV game show.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow. Okay. That is, I can't imagine many people wanting to be a cameraman.
I woke up at 5 a.m. to do it as well.
Oh.
No. Not wanting to play a cameraman. So I wasn't really filming anything. I was pretending.
Okay. Oh, so you pretended to do it?
I was acting.
Right. Oh, I like that. You get
I
TV now.
guess in this day and age, acting, that's quite hip hop now, isn't it?
It is. You're going to be on Top Boy, aren't you? You're going to be on Top Boy.
New Tupac, fam. Yeah. Funny you say that. I did do something on Top Boy.
Did you really?
Yeah, but not like, it was in the background, I wasn't like anything.
Come on, man. How are you just dropping that? You should drop that first thing when you come into the room. Like, by the way, mate, I've been on Top Boy.
Yeah. Top Boy over here, bro.
Top Boy.
So that's probably the least hip hop thing I could think of right now.
No, that's good.
I had a salad at lunch. That might be.
That's also very non-hip hop, man. No meat around there, isn't it? It's a salad. That's what I like to
it's
hear.
probably that, man.
Okay, cool. I like it. Cool. Right. So we're going to go into the conversation about America's Most Wanted. But let me just drop a little bit of science for everyone who don't know about this album. It's May 16th, 1990, and a 20-year-old Ice Cube has his star shining bright in the game, but is about to illuminate the whole hip-hop skyline with his solo debut, America's Most Wanted. With questions surrounding his career and future in rap after ditching the legendary Trailblazers NWA, Cube made a statement of intent with this album, calling out sellouts, political hypocrisy, police brutality, and spinning unheard tales from the ghetto all in one go. Cube told everyone that he didn't need Dre and Easy anymore. America's Most Wanted is fearless, reactionary, volatile and furious, with Cube deciding to play outside the box and unify hip-hop from coast to coast on the production side, and starting his legacy as the greatest rapper on the planet in the early 90s. So, man, you've come all the way in. Tell me why you think this album should be in Crate 808.
Boy, the reason I think it should be in Crate 808 is because from top to bottom, it's one of them albums that either you rewind it or you carry on. You don't really, there's no pauses in there. For me, it just makes it a cohesive album. Because of that, you're getting so many different sounds and sonics as you're going through the album.
That's true.
It touches on social commentary, but it also has a lot of comedy in there. So for me, it's really entertaining. As well as that, it's like it tells quite a story from the side of the gate that a lot of people might not understand. Coming from the hood, he's a lot of tales from the hood in terms of when it's like, don't mess with a chick from the project, don't mess with a bitch from the project, or talking about obviously police brutality. The title of the album is America's Most Wanted, and America is spelt with 3 K's instead of with a C. So he's making quite a statement there already. On a political level, and then on top of that, he's bringing it to you in an entertaining way, and that for me, it really struck, because I felt like he was talking about stuff that I knew, as I growing older, definitely knew more and more, but he was saying it in a way that was like, it wasn't just like showing off how rugged I am or showing off that I could pop a cap in your ass. It was more like explaining that unfortunately, this is how my life is, and you could hear that he's like, this isn't right. It's, they're talking about, when is it? Like early 90s?
Yeah, 1990, innit? Yeah.
1990, see it there, 1990. He's talking about stuff that people are still talking about now in terms of police brutality, and just the way like the color of your skin kind of dictates how you're going to be treated in the world.
Absolutely, man. And
as well as then you got things like Who's the Mac, which I found was a really interesting track, because it was like three different verses about different, sort of walks of life, and then asking you who really is the smart one out of these lot.
Exactly. I suppose what Ice Cube does really well generally is like kind of widens the prism from like just the ghetto to like outside the ghetto.
Yeah.
So you have that kind of like, oh, they're the power systems that are kind of affecting everything in the ghetto. So I remember that's the first time this wasn't the first album I got into with Ice Cube. I think I got into him on Death Certificate. That was my first thing. And I remember him like just generally hearing like that first thing as you're a teenager, like you was telling me you heard this when you were young, right? So I remember being like 13, 14 and, you know, I don't know anything about the LA like riots or anything. I don't know anything about that. I remember like, you know, there's a gun store, there's a liquor store, there's this in the ghetto. And, you know, oh, that's why there's this, because they're trying to control you. And he has that very simple but very effective way of telling you that.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people would be surprised that I'd say this is my favorite album, because like you're saying, his rhyme style wasn't crazy intricate. It wasn't like a flow, you know, it wasn't none of that, but it was enough that for me, it was like, yo, this, it's skills, but then it's like the story he was telling, you know, throughout the album. And it's very ignorant, like a lot of stuff you probably wouldn't get away with saying now. But that on that side, it was the entertainment side of it that really kind of struck me. It was like I'm laughing out loud at some of the stuff he's talking about. Or JD's gaffling. Like I didn't even know what gaffling meant. But when he said, he's talking about jacking someone of their trucks, and he says that he'll do it in the McDonald's drive-through. You know, I'll just wait out in the drive-through. And then he's like, you know, he's like, yo, order the food, get your food, leave it in the car. To get out. To me, that was just hilarious.
You got the food and the truck.
And the truck. He's like, yo, it's the best place to do it.
Yeah, man. No. That's what I'm saying.
Hilarious, man.
Yeah.
And then you had stuff like Turn Off the Radio. Which was even then was relatable. Up until now, it's still relatable. Like Turn Off the Radio. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm sick of all the ass kissing, all this kind of talk.
It's weird when you think of Cube, like if we're just kind of giving a bit of perspective from where he's been, you think like, so he's been in NWA, he's done his thing, he's already like known, people know about him, innit?
And he's written remember, he's been in NWA and more or less wrote all the lyrics apart from MC Ren. I think.
I think MC Ren then wrote once Cube left.
He was the writer for everyone,
So Cube clearly had this talent, but I think the restrictedness of obviously the contract, the recording contract, and obviously Dre was just so, like they just were made for each other. Like they were just made for each other. So for him to go off of this, and for anyone who's not heard much of the album or the context to it or know much about it, but he's a West Coast grimy, like in the hood rapper. He moves out of NWA and then he goes to New York and links up with Public Enemy and the Bomb Squad.
And the Bomb Squad. I think this might have been the first time that someone from the West Coast had even been brave enough to do that sort of thing. What's interesting though is the style of production from both Dre and the Bomb Squad at that time wasn't that different. It wasn't crazy different. Like you had that West Coast sound, but not as West Coast as it is now.
There was no G-Funk, was there?
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't that whole G-Funk. I guess Quick wasn't really about then.
No, I think to be fair, I think Public Enemy had such an imprint on hip-hop that everyone kind of followed that style, that wall of sound, like sample, like that kind of thing.
I think you're right in that sense. So for Cube to go over there and be like, look, this is where I want to do this. And I don't know how true it is, but I heard that he went over, checked Public Enemy, and then he was with the Bomb Squad. And apparently he slept in the I think he went into their dungeon where all their records are, and started picking out tunes that he wanted sampled. And then he apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, you know, people make up stuff, but that he slept in that same room, you know, warehouse or room or studio or whatever it was for 2 weeks and wrote the album then.
Damn. Because I heard that it was a very much a trial by like just fire. Like this is what I heard about the Bomb Squad generally is like if you go in there, you pick like the records you want, what you want to say with the album. People like, I remember the Bomb Squad, they were saying like, no, you have to be like, you have to do your homework. You have to be like, get in there and be like, right, what are you trying to say with each album, which each track, what are your samples you're going to use? Everything I've heard pretty much about this album has been that Cube had to learn a lot.
On the spot.
Yeah, like, okay, this is how you're doing it. I've worked with Dre for years, but this is how you boys are doing it. Right, this is going to make me hone my craft. Jeez. Like, I've got to be able to, like, write on the spot. I've got to be able to, like, if I want a sample, I've got to tell you which part of the sample I want and where. And for someone who could just purely be a lyricist, you learn a lot. You learn a lot, right? I mean, you're a musician. You must be able to tell me.
I can imagine that if, especially like you're saying, he's already honed his craft and then become successful with NWA. Obviously not seeing the money that he's supposed to see, but in terms of success, you could say that I'm sure he'd feel like, well, that was me.
Yeah.
You know, to a certain extent. And then you go over to, you know, the other side of the world, like you go over to the East Coast, and there are these guys that have already been killing it as well, Public Enemy. You're loving the production that they've got behind them. You meet the people that make the production, and then they just school you on a whole nother way of the creative process. So I can imagine that must have been a lot on him, but at the same time quite refreshing in a way, like, oh, I'm being schooled on stuff now.
Remember, he was 20, man.
Yeah, man.
He was 20.
Crazy.
That's sick. Like, think about this as well. If you're 20, I don't even know if he did it consciously, but obviously it worked out for him. But like, you could have just been in NWA, and then when you left NWA, kept doing that kind of hip hop. Yeah. And for me, it's almost like this album is almost like saying, this is outlining what kind of artist I'm going to be for the rest of my career. Not even like for just for the next few years, but for the rest of my career, I'm going to be like a street observer from the hood, who's like, first of all, ferocious, man, ruthless with what he's saying. So like, just brave, innit? Like, just like, I don't care what you guys think of me. He obviously needs to sell records to keep food on the table, but it's also like, I'm down with the struggle. Like, I'll be able to talk about things that I'm seeing in the street that I think is wrong. Obviously, like we talked about earlier, political hypocrisy, police brutality. And that's what I do love about Cube, is that at such a young age, he was able to go to Chuck D and be like, look, let me get under your wing for this album and let me learn. Yeah.
And I'd like to know how long he chilled. Like, I get the whole 2 weeks thing, but they've obviously had to speak before and meet up and whatnot, and just like know how long he'd kind of absorbed their energy and their train of thought in terms of that creative process, and then decided, all right, let's go in and do this. Like, I'm sure he probably had some of these lyrics already, you know. There's probably stuff that he wrote with NWA or with them in mind or for NWA, but then kept for you like, nah, man, this got to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like the track The Bomb.
Oh,
come on, man.
Yeah, I can't. It's a hard thing to think, because if you think like, you can easily say like, oh, you know, you've done it to artistically express yourself, and then like you went on to just sell albums, and like, you went on to kind of change. And Ice Cube's career trajectory did go that way, but also I would say he never lost that voice. Even his new albums, like even the newer stuff,
his voice is still
like he still talks about the stuff that is like, you know, fuck you, no, this is not what I believe. And I feel that's differentiates him, and that's what puts him more in the Chuck D level of like
gangster rap.
Yeah,
that's true. He's a conscious rapper. Like, for me, as I grew up, the more and more I thought about it, I was like, wow, this guy was a very conscious rapper. It's very hard to balance the being ignorant and smart, you know, which is what we love in hip hop. We love when people say some really smart shit, but then we also love when they say some really dumb shit.
we do.
And so like I think he kept a really healthy balance, particularly on this album and the Kill It Will EP after. But then there was inklings of it, you know, like with that the Dead Homies thing, there were inklings of, okay, he's a bit, you know, he's calmed down, he don't want to shout as much, and you know what I mean? But for me, it was like, yo, angry Ice Cube, just
where is he?
The angry eyebrows, man. You know, so you don't get bits and bobs of that here and there in the later music. But
you talk about angry Ice Cube, but there's no disses to NWA on here. There's no like dissing.
Well, he kind of, not necessarily. He kind of bigs them up, but then he kind of throws in a little something.
Subliminal.
There's a couple subliminals. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, is it? Maybe I missed them then. Because I thought.
Oh, no, you know what? It's Jacking for Beats, which was on the EP.
He went in.
You know, I'll leave your ass, have you march 100 miles and running, or something like that,
But that I think was in retaliation, though.
Yeah, it was. You're right about that. And I think he purposefully, like you're saying, you're right. He purposefully didn't diss them. He even bigs up. He's saying, when I'm playing Fuck the Police in the tape deck or something like that.
He does.
So he even bigs them up. And I think he, because of the situation of him leaving, he's like, you know what? Sorry, I'm not going to diss them. I'm just going to do me. And then when they came out dissing him, he's like, all right.
Here we go.
Yeah, no Vaseline, baby.
Top 5 hip hop diss records of all time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How'd you come back from that? And
the video, come on, man. The video. Oh,
mate, I feel bad. I feel like, obviously they all, especially with Easy, innit? Like they all were like, fuck, like, you know, these little fallouts, they shouldn't happen. But boy, gee, you just don't fall out with Ice Cube. That's what it is, isn't it? Yeah. And that's where I mean, like we said earlier, like that word ferocious comes to mind a lot. But like, it also is that whole, like with this, like you said there, like, is that maturity? Like there is a maturity to like dump, like not just gonna chill, just gonna rein things in. So I'm not gonna go at NWA. I've got no reason to.
No reason. I'm the one who left, and I know why I've left, you know. But then obviously for them, it's like, damn, we've lost the guy that was frigging writing. You know what I mean? Like the whole of Easy Does It, apparently Ice Cube wrote it.
I heard that.
You know, and that must have been quite a hit to the head to know that, right, the guy that kind of made you, you know, sound the way you sound.
Hip-hop was so raw back then, though.
Yeah.
Hip-hop was so raw that thing like that can erupt into full-scale beef. Like, you can't imagine that in hip-hop nowadays. Like, you see Drake,
you mean in terms of, like, videos and whatnot? Yeah, I know what you mean.
That.
Now it's all subliminal. It's all like, I'm going to make a hit. I'm going to make the girls sing along with this, but I'm dissing you. You know, it's like, what? Proper, like, hiding behind the friggin' fence, like, yo, you lot say it for me, and then, you know, it's like, whereas, them two were going, like, but Ice Cube and Eazy-E were going at each other hard. Yeah.
Hard, bro.
You're right, man.
And also, I think, like, if he clearly has anger on this, but, like, you know what I loved about this album is the fact that there's a smartness, again, for a 20-year-old. Clearly, it shows that he's learnt a lot in the industry and from people like Chuck and whoever else have kind of been teaching him the way of, like, just your identity. Just being like, you know what, this is the community we're in, so let's not lie to ourselves, and let's be. So he even goes at people like calling them Oreo cookies and shit.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you're like, oh wow, like the themes of this album, like you're even going at black people
who act too white. Yeah. And then
like,
he put the skit. Was it it was a bit from?
Oh, you're talking about Spike Lee's. Spike, Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing.
That skit is unreal.
Yeah.
This is what they really think of you.
Yeah.
And he just
goes in. And you're like, wait, where's that from again? You know, like,
it's
like, damn, he took it from that and he flipped it.
That's a wake-up call.
Here's what they
that
think
is a
about
wake-up. Yeah, that's what they think about you. And that track, I can't remember what the track's called.
Skit?
Turn off your radio. Turn off the radio, I think.
Turn off the radio,
Yeah. And I think that's the intro to that.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
And when you hear that, and then he starts talking about what it is to be black in the country, and like that is themes that plays to this day and still will play.
Still now, man.
15, 20 years from now, I think.
Yeah, and then he was smart enough to do things like It's a Man's World, you know, so yeah, it sounds, because obviously it's all the a bitch is a bitch sort of thing that everyone knows from the NWA era. And then he's like, yo, I'm still kind of about that in a way, but then he's like, you know what? Let's bring in Yo-Yo and this and just mess with people he's talking about this as a man's world, but in the end he brings in Yo-Yo and they kind of agree that this is a man's world, but it wouldn't be anything without a woman's touch, and you know, like that, just that as well, just the play on like the man versus woman thing, and he managed to mesh it together in a way that at the end you're like, well, that's actually a smart little track right there, you know?
It is.
And he still says some like bad shit on there, some derogatory shit, but obviously, like we're saying, man, they're coming in from the 70s, 60s where, you know what I mean, you could smoke on TV, you know what I mean? There's a whole different world then.
Because we can't deny that. Like, first of all, Yo-Yo's got skills on that. I was very, like, I appreciate that he... It's weird for me, mate, because when you look at it now, it's like you're looking that. I think that track, "Man's World," starts with like 400 different words of the word bitch, like mentions it's like bitch. It's like,
a bitch is a bitch. A bitch is a bitch.
Yeah, you're right.
There's all kind of bitches on there.
It's all these kind of versions of bitch. I'm like, fuck, man, this boy is like not giving a fuck. Because before this, NWA got taken down for derogatory stuff against women and stuff like that, and he clearly knows what field he's playing in. He knows if I'm going to do a track and it's going to be dissing women, he just goes for it on the intro. Does his verse where he's like, look, get me a drink, get me this is all you're good for. And then Yo-Yo comes in on this.
I don't know if you can really say that, you know, like, and then he's like, oh, and then what was really cool about it is during the track, they're still going at each other. He's still not being, you know, like too, okay, you're right. No, actually, you know what I mean? But eventually, by the third verse, it's like, okay, he's like, no, okay, well, you do. And they're just back and forth on it. And like you said, man, Yo-Yo definitely does her thing on it as well. Yeah.
She steps up, man. Yeah.
So,
toe to toe.
Man, you know, so all that, imagine like I'm hearing all of these different tracks. There's no way I could, as an artist, that I could come out and just, I'm just going to chat about this subject and that's it. Do you know what I mean? And also on top of that was like the entertainment value of performance, you know, like I'm rapping to you, but I want you to hear it and be like laughing or crying or, you know what I mean? Some form of emotion coming out, not just like, oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. You're rapping for rapping's sake. Kind of
exactly.
situation. He ain't doing that.
Nah.
He's never done that. To be fair, I don't think. With maybe in his later albums with the greatest hits and stuff like that. But no, I think in this kind of purple patch for him, he wasn't really doing that.
Subject matter.
And do you know what? Actually, you know what we've got to check, because I don't know if you've seen this, to be fair, mate. But like we talk about like the critics all hating on him for his derogatory comments and stuff. Apparently, there's an interview out there with him and Angela Davis. I don't know if so like him and like, you know, proper freedom fighter from the 60s, 70s, they sat down in like the 90s after this album, and apparently they had a proper chat about like his attitude toward women, his general just demeanor and derogatory comments between his own community. And I can't find it anywhere. Apparently it's like deleted everywhere, and there's just transcripts of it, but I can't even find the whole thing. So
and what? How did? No, I didn't. Not at all, man. How did he come across on it? Was he mad apologetic with it, or?
Well, because there's nothing to actually go by. You just go by like comments, and there's people like, you know, he stood his ground. He kind of said what he wanted to say, but there's also things like, well, no, he's like with Angela Davis, so obviously he's gonna be quite different and be like, look, what I mean is this about this type of woman. And again, I need to, if anyone out there is listening to the podcast and knows about it, please hit us up for that link, because I've been looking for this YouTube link everywhere and I can't find it, and I just see that little reports about it. And the thing for me is, I mean, this is the thing with hip-hop generally, but I think that I'm not in that realm. I'm not in that world, so I don't know what type of woman you're really talking about, yeah? I'm guessing it from your album covers, like Doggy Style has that type of shit. You know what I mean? Like, and the way you're talking about like women trying to take your money. But I have to say, on this album, Eli goes in, man. Like,
he goes in. I mean, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
It's actually one of my favourite tracks as well.
What's that track again?
You Can't Fade Me.
You Can't Fade Me.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the woman who says like...
man. Where basically he there's a woman that she comes out of the blue and says that she's pregnant for him. And he's like, what? He's like, yo, when we had sex, like... Nah, man, are you sure that's mine? And she's like, yeah, well, I wasn't whoring then. Like, so it turns out that she was a prostitute or something.
Yeah.
And
or the neighborhood scuzzy, I think he
politely
called her the
neighbor, yeah. But then he says, no, that night, she says, no, that night I wasn't whoring. You know what I mean? And then like, the baby's yours. That's when the sweat start pouring. But he says one of the funniest things. So on top of that, she's ugly, yeah?
Mate, come on. Dissing the woman already, now he's dissing her.
Yeah, so he said that she had the pit bull face. So he said, this cracks me up. He says, so we ran, jumped, drove, swam, crawled, hid. Like, just so that he could go and bang her. Like, he did all of that. Like, so it's proper, like, to paint the picture of, yo, she was that ugly that we did some like mad course, you know what I mean?
So no one
would see him with her.
If my mate had seen this.
And then go and impregnate her.
Oh my God. But that verges on like, when, like, you know, you heard it young, yeah? So I heard it relatively young as well. As a kid, you're like, what is this story? Like, this story is ridiculous.
I mean,
right?
that I didn't get until I was older. I didn't really,
for sure.
You know, the whole, like, there's just certain slang as well that he's using. But like, at that age, 11, 12, I didn't really, you know, but I think that's partly as well why it's one of my favorite albums, that I was still learning what he was saying as I was getting older and older and watching movies, and then you go, oh, that's what that means, or that, you know.
And you're learning as you go, right?
Yeah, man.
That's it. But I have to say though, Mo, like on that, when you're saying he's going in, like he's talking about this girl, and you're like, okay, so this story is like he doesn't want a kid. Okay, fair enough. And then he is just so rough and raw.
Yeah.
When he's like, I'll kick you in. I should have done.
Yeah, I should have kicked out. I should have used the hanger.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Why? He's like saying, I should have used the hanger. Stupid bitch. Why did I bang her?
Yeah.
You know, like.
And you're like, do you know what? You're doing kids movies right now, bro.
No, bro. That's the weirdest thing for me. It's like, what, he turned into this like dad guy, you know?
Are we there yet?
Yeah.
And yet you're doing Are We There Yet? Yeah, a minute ago you're talking about kicking a pregnant girl in the tummy. Like, Jesus Christ, mate. Like the realm of hip hop was so different back then. Not making excuses for it. Like even now, I find it hard to listen to that now a little bit, because I'm like, okay, that's a little bit like raw.
I mean, it's like when, I mean, they're doing it with everything now. You know, episodes of Friends, they're saying you wouldn't be able to say that now. And so there's a lot of that. But we have to admit that this was in the name of entertainment. Like, he weren't really kicking bitches in the stomach. And
yeah, but remember, he had to answer for this shit as well.
Yeah,
he wasn't just like doing this shit and then bang, walking away.
Nah.
Like, people, there were loads of interviews with him on like newscasts where he's sitting there and people are like, well, no, what did you mean by this lyric?
Yeah,
what do you mean?
yeah.
And you know what? Fair play to Cube. He did stand up and talk about it. And even though excuses might not wash, especially in today's world, it might not wash. But he was like, you know, this isn't the kind of woman I'm talking about that you see every day. It's a different type of woman.
A bitch is a bitch, yeah.
Exactly. But then it's also, I'm kind of putting it on. I'm an entertainer. I'm doing it for that as well as, you know.
Well, we got to remember that he's come from NWA, and when you watch the interviews, you watch the documentaries, you realize that, okay, they knew this setting this controversy would bring a lot of eyes to them, a lot of ears to them. For me, I feel more that that's what he was trying to put out there. And also, you want to sell it to your people, you know, you want it to be realistic. You want it to be like, yo, yeah, he's thinking what I'm thinking type thing, you know?
Yeah.
And there probably were, there, like, yeah, of course there are. There's pimps and whatnot. And so at the same time, he's talking all that kind of stuff, but then he does ask you, is this right or wrong?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then later on, you've got, like, so with the Kill at Will, you've got the track called The Product, which I think is amazing as well, where he talks about from being from the womb to the tomb, basically.
Yeah.
You know, he starts off as like, obviously his parents getting together and whatnot, and then him being conceived 9 months later, and then just talking about ending, you know, the end of it is he's in jail and whatnot. So he's still giving, you know, I just feel like a lot of these, it's almost like the reason why he started even writing movies, you know, was it John Singleton said to him, like, yo, you already write movies because he's like, I can't write a movie. He's like, bro, you're doing it in your songs.
Yeah.
To me, it leads back to entertainment. I grew up with this album. I never felt like I've never hit a girl. Never even thought of or felt like hitting a girl. And I'm not saying it like, oh, so that nobody should feel like that. Like, everybody's different. Their minds are different. But my point is that this is from the level of entertainment. It's just somebody saying these things. He's not telling you to go out and do them.
Yeah.
Same way when you go and watch friggin' Hellraiser or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, but it's that's it. I think hip hop's always had that weird like barrier that people think, oh, well, no, you're saying that, you must mean that. But no one really talks about that with, like you said, horror films, and then you have like WWF, WWE now, like so that kind of thing. And then also like when you think like other music, like for instance, I was listening to, we were working say in the office, and Led Zeppelin were on, right? Everyone bangs on about Led Zeppelin, like this really lofty criticism of like, yeah, amazing rock, whatever. Listen to a track and I was like, he's just talking about his dick, isn't he? He's like, yeah, he just has tracks just talking about his dick and how much he wants to bang girls.
But it's making it a bit more poetic than your
exactly.
average,
and you're like, there's this. I have to say, even growing up in it, there was a double standards on rap from day one.
Yeah.
Like, and I can't help but think it's because it's a black art form.
Yeah, I mean, look where it's come from. It's come from the ghetto, man. It's come from the place where they tried to push all these I want to say offspring of slaves, you know. These are all lineage of the same people that they brought over to just do the work for them. Now they're free, but, well, I say free, quote unquote free. Now they're in the projects, you know, they're on a different plantation. And they're being kept there as well. This is what, you know, the NWA, they taught us that, like you said earlier, they've got the laundrette is there, the shops are there, everything's there, so they don't leave this plantation.
Never leave.
You know what I mean? But then all of a sudden, you know, these same people are becoming stars. They're actually having a bigger voice than some of the people out there that, this is my thing, I want to become president. And, you know, like, they're having a bigger voice than them, and they're touching more people than them. And then it wasn't just the people that are from the same place as they are. It was people in the suburbs. It's like now these people's sons and daughters are blasting this shit loud, going, fuck you, nigga, you know?
The racist rich white man from 1910s or something must have been screwing in the 90s when he was like, hold on a minute, he's talking about the ghetto and you're loving that. We try to keep him in there.
Keep him there. Like, they're glamorizing the ghetto to the way where, like, people are like, yo, man, that shit's cool though. Like, you know? So yeah, I would not be surprised at all that hip hop would be looked at in that way. But then there's that whole thing of, like, they're saying, I don't know if you heard about the conspiracy to do with there was the conscious side of hip hop, and then when Public Enemy started blowing up, someone, you know, whoever it was like, yo, this is not what we want. We need to fill up the jails with all of these people. And then so they allowed the NWAs and the more ignorant side of the music to get out there.
So what you're saying, like the record companies and the powers that be?
All
wow, that's interesting. I've not heard that.
Yeah, there's some thing to do. I can't even remember it, but it came out a few years ago, and it was basically saying that the same companies that have invested in some of these record labels and whatnot have invested in prisons as well, and they need to fill up these prisons.
Mate,
so
I do not, like, obviously conspiracy theories are conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
but I do not put it past the fact that people who are in power see everything as a reactionary like cycle. It's all like a little habitat for them to like make money from one way to another. So although I can't qualify that, I can also say that, you know what, end of the day, I don't put it past anyone.
Yeah.
And
we
that's
know
that
how
stuff,
fucked up America is already, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you say fucked up, not just fucked up in the fact that the power systems, but you fucked up a whole dynasty and race of people. So like when you hear Cube, I think I've actually got it on here. I've got one of his lyrics on here where he says like, and motherfuckers that say they're too black, put them overseas, they be begging to come back.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, not only have you fucked up like just the way that you took them away from their homes and for hundreds of years you've kept them here as slaves. Now you've kind of like tried to contain them in somewhere. They can't even go back to where their ancestors were from.
Yeah.
Because Cube is saying, like, all these people who say, yeah, you know, trying to arise to this level of blackness that is beyond America and back to Africa, you can't even go back to Africa.
Yeah, it's true.
Because Africa's different, man.
Different,
it's a different world.
Yeah.
And I just going off topic here a little bit, but I watched
Black Panther.
Do you know what? I didn't watch Black Panther, but that's more relevant, to be fair. That's more positive on it. But I watched do you remember Hype Williams' film Belly?
Yeah.
DMX, Nas.
Yeah, Nas. Yeah, Nas's great acting skills.
Mate, right, we're going to do a little review of that on this podcast because I've got, you know, a little revisit to Belly. I've got to do it because
that was a struggle, man.
I mean, I love you, Nas, man. I love you. You're like top 5 sometimes for me, but like, you know, you go in and out of that top 5 for me. He's best album of all time. But yeah. And the whole, when I watched it again, I was, oh my God, I forgot. Like, he's like very much like me and T-Boz. We go back to Africa.
Yeah, it was, yo, we going to Africa. Yo, when we going to Africa? Yo, we got to go back to Africa. You know, like he said it like Africa was a country.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, it's a big ass place, bro. Like, which part do you want to go exactly, man?
Never tell you, mate.
Yeah.
Never tell you. Senegal? No, not there.
Yeah,
Nigeria? No.
Yeah. It's like, yo, let me.
Where are you going? And the weird thing is,
you got to go to Africa. You know, with the eyes, and it's just like, wow, this guy can.
That's a really good impression.
Yeah.
That's a really good impression. And in sort of like 98, 99, that film, and I'm like, oh my God, even 10 years after this album, or 10 years after Public Enemy, people are thinking these lofty aspirations of Africa are the way out, and you're not even naming a country, dog. You're naming a continent. And when I was looking at it, I was thinking, I couldn't help think of Cube. And I've watched this film. I thought, you know, MysDiggi's coming on. We're going to talk about Ice Cube. So, oh my God, even now, that lyric from Ice Cube is
crazy,
relevant.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you think, Jesus, like, yeah, it's just, one, it's a fucked up country, but also it's fucked up, like, how hip hop also like highlights how fucked up it is. Like, I mean,
they keep reminding us. They keep reminding us how fucked up the country is. And you think about, like, obviously the police brutality. He's talking about it back then.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? What's that now? 30-something years now or something?
Mate, so it's not got any better. Well, not from what we can see. Like, really, like, I don't live there, so
it's
I
got
can't
worse.
say. Yeah.
If anything, it's got worse because now it's like constant. It's a constant, and they're worried. Like, I don't even want to visit America. You know what I mean? If I go there, I'm trying to dress as English, as European as possible, so no one don't go, yo, this tray over there, yo, blah, blah, blah. Or even the police are like, yo,
like a tweed suit.
Yeah, tweed suit. What, bruv? No way, man. Yeah, I'm wearing the Andy cap, everything, man. British flag.
But that's what I mean. Yo. Isn't that weird? Like when you listen to this album again, and I implore anyone who hasn't, either if you want to revisit this album or whatever, but do you know with the Black Lives Matter stuff, and you know with all that's happened in the last few years, and just the politics in a community between like the government and yourselves, this album is still pertinent today.
It says it, man. It's almost like the ignorance of NWA, like the trash talk, the bitch, this and that, but then the conscious awareness of Public Enemy. You know what I mean? Was like Cube just engulfed both of them, and then just this is what he blurted out. And so for me, you know, you listen to this album, you should get a real idea of the reasons why I think this is the greatest hip hop album ever.
Yeah, man.
Do you know what I mean? And then so you got that side of it. But then he also entertained us. So like Gangsta's Fairy Tale for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's like the sort of the track that made me go, I wish I could do this. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like being that young. It's probably the track that really drew me to, because it's the one thing that I'd like, it was still fresh to me, you know, like hearing about who, you know, Humpty Dumpty. hearing about, you know what I mean? At that young,
Yeah.
all of that stuff, you're like, oh, Mary and the Little Lamb, like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
But he's saying...
The woman who lives in the shoe, she's got weed growing out the back. That thing.
Crazy, man.
So this track, if no one's heard this track is basically going on fairy tales, and he just spins every single nursery rhyme and fairy tale you know, but makes it hood.
Yeah, just mad hood, you know, like friggin' Jack and Jill went up the hill to catch a little nap. Dumb bitch, gave him the claps. Then he went to go see Dr. Bombay. Got a shot in his ass and he was on his way. What?
Oh, mate, yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. I think that was the kind of track where he goes in and goes, you know what, I'm just going to be just showcase of where I can go lyrically.
Yeah.
And just concept-wise, like.
So I heard that originally was Del the Funky Homo Sapien. That's his cousin.
Oh, okay.
And so originally because a lot of people came, oh, you know that Gangster's Fairy Tale is actually Del's whatever. Yeah, but apparently like Del had this, you know, it was a verse they used to do as kids.
Oh.
And then, but what Ice Cube did was turn it into a song.
I did not
so
know
he
that.
added the extra verse, I guess. And I don't know, maybe Del helped him with it. I'm not sure. But
yeah.
For me, like hearing that, at like 11, you know, I was pretty sure, And there's hearing that and I'm thinking, wow, there's swearing in it and it's talking about like all these things that, I can relate to in terms of being a kid, you know. It's like, oh yeah, I remember, you know, Three Little Wolves and the pigs and all of this stuff. But that was just like the ultimate in creativity. You know, when it came to like rapping, I was like, okay, if I'm ever going to do this, I mean, at that young, I didn't know, but once I started get into doing it, which was around sort of 13, it always stuck in my head that I'd love to be able to do something like that. It's been done, so I can't do that. But just to be able to be that creative with what I'm saying, that you're hearing one thing and you're relating to it in, you know, nursery rhymes or whatnot, but then he's just turned it into this hood fucking movie, man.
Yeah.
Like imagine you could make a short cartoon of that or short, you know,
absolutely,
and it'd be hilarious.
Yeah, you got 20 different chapters in there. That's what I mean. Do you know what I mean? It definitely has influence in everything that goes ahead after it. I think it might be Puffy. I think it was Puffy who said like this album definitely influenced Ready to Die.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and I'm sure Redman is like, this is one of his favorite albums as well.
Yeah.
So when you hear those people like Biggie and Redman, and then obviously extension to Eminem, you realize that people do go for these concepts sometimes and do try to play outside the box of just ghetto tales. You switch it up. Like the creativity has to get there.
Like there's the ultimate for me in terms of like taking this concept that is a world concept that you talk to anyone about, majority of these characters, they'll probably know who you're on about. And then just bringing it to the hood.
Yeah.
Like bringing it so that people from the ghetto or people who, you know, can relate to ghetto ways of life will hear this and be like, man, that is hilarious. Or man, oh, you know, like you're touched in some form of way.
Yeah.
Like to me, and it's like I've never, you know, obviously there's been music that's come out and conceptually, people take it to different places. But for something so long ago, to have that impact and still sound like that now, like the production alone anyway, you know what I mean, was crazy. It was like dance music, you know, people could break dance to that or they'd do the little Running Man or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the fact that the concept were there, I'm like, yo, this is what, if I'm ever going to do this, I have to like keep to this train of thought, this way of doing it, you know. I want to entertain. The way it touched me, I want to touch people like that, basically.
Yeah. I love that, man. I love that.
1 2 1 2, you know what it is. This your man SKYZOO Skyzoo, live out the borough. And this is the Crate 808 podcast. Make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and most importantly, share that love and put your peoples on. Crate 808, one time.
Again, when you talk about humour and how funny it is and stuff like that, there's lyrics in this which always get me still to this day. I think it was, I've got it one written down here, right? One of the hardest starts to a 90s hip-hop track ever, anyway, was on the end, You Love to Hate, right? So when he comes in on that, you're like, what? And it's just so hard, and there's so many bars on that track. Mate,
like even the chorus, fuck you, Ice Cube.
Yeah, fuck you, Ice Cube. People are telling you to fuck. Yeah, that's amazing. And then, like, what's that line? He says, so what they do, go and ban the AK, my shit wasn't registered any fucking way.
Yeah, man. It's nuts, man.
It's like, oh my God, this boy is just going off, mate. I loved it. But have you got any favourite bars? Have you got any favourite bars on here, man?
I loved on Turn Off the Radio where he says, that's where I'm coming from. Reality. That's what they're running from.
Yeah, deep.
It's like, you know what I mean? That's so simple, but it's like he's telling you, I'm coming from reality, and guess what? They're running from that shit.
Yeah.
You know, they don't even want to hear majority of what I'm saying to you. They don't even want to hear.
Yeah.
Then you've got endangered species though. So Tales from the Dark Side. They'll kill 10 of me to get the job correct. To serve, protect, and break a N-word's neck.
And that's with Chuck D in it, that track.
Yeah, that's with Chuck D, and
mate.
he's talking about the police and
Jesus,
you know,
that track alone. As soon as that track comes on, it's like driving, isn't it? It's like just gets you going
straight away, man. Like,
and Chuck,
impactful, man. And yeah, his verse on it is like, and just love how they always bring in some other sounds and. You know what I mean? Standing on the road and I'm getting... Like,
don't they bring in a sample when he's rapping?
Yeah, that's
first
it.
time I've
standing on the verge and I'm getting proud of the fact when it's got a beer in a Bozak.
Yeah.
This is like,
I'd never heard that. I'd never heard that manipulation of rap. I was like, you straight up rap and the samples and cuts came in the chorus or
somehow...
And they brought it over his verse.
So you know what? I feel like that's part of what you were saying earlier in terms of Ice Cube having to learn. That was part of it. It was like, yo, you've got to have an idea. Obviously, that's Chuck D's verse. That's Chuck D's verse. So when he said standing on the verge, he knew that I wanted... Well, I don't even know who that sample's from, but
some sample
he knew that's what I want to come in.
Show,
and it worked. It wasn't like, yo, that bit's kind of weird, isn't it? Where he just brings in some other random bit.
No,
it's like,
works perfect.
Yeah, it sounds like he's even saying it. You know? But I wanted to drop another lyric that I really like. So I mentioned about the bomb earlier, and you got to remember, man, this is like early 90s. You know, you ain't hearing people say this sort of stuff, but
so
this was mad relatable.
What's around this time? Rakim, Kane, Cool G, so you have them, innit?
So you got people, but no one was saying this. I'm solo, you ask how I'm living. Still dropping more shit than a pigeon. That was just
so simple.
Right,
so simple.
Mad simple.
You are
impactful.
You know, it paints that picture.
You
don't need. Well, I mean, clearly everyone has different tastes, but you don't always need that. American,
you know, that was sick. But then this guy just comes in and and it was like the way it drops on the beat. You know, I think it felt like it was a beat that was going backwards as well. But just I know, like, man,
I know what you mean.
He just said some shit on there. I was like, yo, this is easily my favorite album, man.
Mate, there's just too much. You know, you're talking about Who's the Mac as well, right? So when I was listening to Who's the Mac again recently, I watched the video again for it. I never really got into that track, I'll be honest. When I was a kid, I just skipped that track and watched it again. And I was like, oh my God, the game he's spitting, the lyrics and everything about it, it reminded me of, there's a show called The Deuce.
The Deuce is wicked, man.
David Simon, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, the Mac is basically The Deuce. Like if you were to watch those two things, he even calls out Trump, I think, on the Mac. I think something like that,
he calls out Iceberg Slim, who was a pimp.
Right.
So he says something like, unlike Iceberg Slim, and all of those claiming to be pimps or something like that. So that's what I found really interesting about it. And with that, like, you know, I didn't really, I'd say probably 10 years ago, maybe I'd listened to it and I realized that, wow, he's actually, as much as it sounds like he's saying who's the Mac and the Mac is that dude, he's actually, because he switches it from, you got dodgy, it's obviously about dodgy people. So he's got, you got a pimp, you know, who's like, trying his best to pimp chicks and whatnot. So is he the Mac? But then you've got like the crackhead, who manages to get money from you and kind of he's works his brain. He's macking you as well. And then you got the player or the rapper sort of thing. And is he the Mac then? You know, and so it's really interesting that he wasn't just trying to tell you like, this, if you want to be the Mac, this is the way to do it. He was also like, but
questioning.
All
the time.
Exactly. He's questioning who's the Mac. Like, who really is the one that's running this shit, or the one that's actually getting away with so much. And it reminded me of, do you remember that it was a spoof, Don't Be a Menace in South Central? Do you remember the bit, like it was I'm pretty sure it was around the beginning part, but where you've got the guy that's begging, and he's got dreadlocks and all that. And then he gets a bit of change in his thing, and then he walks off and he takes off all the raggedy stuff, and then jumps into some Lexus or whatever, Mercedes. It's like that. It always reminds me of that. Like, wow. Everybody will walk past and go, here, here's a little dollar, and they think, oh, poor guy, whatever. But then he comes out and he's the Mac in it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I'm saying, man, mind blown. Like, and this is like only 10 years ago. So what? You know, how many years after the album you're still deciphering stuff?
Exactly. So people who don't like gangster rap, people who don't like rap alone, they could be like, oh yeah, he's derogatory, talking about women. Oh, you know, all he's talking about is like sellouts or whatever. But when you actually dig into it, and that was a single, I think, Who's the Mac was actually a single off this album. When you actually look at it and you think when you think like, oh yeah, his singles are very, again, the fingerprints of Public Enemy are all over this album, really.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
You know what I mean? Like he definitely has learnt, like, you know what, I can drop a single and still question everything. Because once you start questioning the pimp and the rapper and all these other people, the crackhead, then naturally as a kid you start questioning everything. Yeah. And that's what KRS-One was talking about. And that's what Chuck D was talking about when you're a kid. And I remember growing up and not having anyone telling me to question anything. Like, we had the Cook Report or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you had like people like that on the telly where you were like, oh, you know, some people are quite fake or whatever. But you never really had anyone telling you, like, you know, anyone.
Even the people that you think are the dudes could be fake.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I remember like being the biggest Tupac stan ever. Like just being like, no, never listen to Biggie, never listen to Bad Boy, because Tupac was the man in it. Yeah. And then when you get to 18, 19, you almost feel a bit like embarrassed, like, oh my God, yeah, like hip hop's taught me never to do that. And I'm doing that.
I'm doing it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about this rap game, man. Like when you listen to it, you're like, yeah, that's crazy.
That's almost what I really love about it as well, is that, you know, like we always talk about, is it real, or is, you know, but it's like the rawness of, you can contradict yourself. You know, like Nas is massive on that. Like a lot of people are like, yeah, but 1 minute he's talking about all this conscious stuff, next minute it's like, you can hate me now, you know, cars and money. And
you've got that review for Lost Tapes too, isn't it? That's essentially we did it,
I mean, no, but it's always been the ongoing thing with Nas is like, 1 minute it was Illmatic and Raw Street, blah, blah, blah. Next minute it was written and
these mafioso
champagne and mafioso stuff. But that's the reality of life. You know, the reality of life is there's times when you are going to be that real conscious guy that's like, no, look left and right before I cross the road. Then there's times when you're drunk and you might get knocked over. You know what I mean? That's the reality of life, man.
Yeah, that's it. And it's absolutely true, man. And Cube kind of nails that whole dichotomy, I think. I think it's brilliant. I think it's really good.
For real.
So tell me, man, if there was one track you could have jumped on this.
I could have jumped on.
Yeah, if you were like, if you could feature on one of these tracks,
Man, ooh, that's a hard one, man. What I would say is I'd love to have been involved in the Gangster's Fairy Tale just because of how much it touched me. But in terms of get a feature, I'd probably have to say the N-word You Love to Hate, because the beat, it was just a perfect intro for an album, man. Yeah. It's like, yo, you're about to go into this world now. And, you know, it was, I'm pretty sure, Parliament Funk sample. And especially coming in off of that, the intro skit, where he's like, so for people who don't know, come on, man. This guy, jail. Yeah, he's in jail, and you can hear, like, the first thing you hear is Cube, yo, Cube, what? And he's like, yo, what up, man? And, you know, basically he's on his way to the not the death chamber, but the electric chair. And so you just hear this guy walking, and he gets to the chair, gets strapped in. I'm pretty sure he says to the guard, innit, hey, I never did like you anyway, innit? Something like that. But then, do you have any last words? He's strapped in now, and then you hear, do you have any last words? And he's like, yeah, fuck all y'all, switch. And then,
what a way to go.
Yeah, man. And then bam, I heard Payback's a motherfucking.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember as a kid that just hitting me. Like, it just slaps you around the face, man.
I loved it, man. My mum used to be like, what is this? Why are you playing all this swearing, this, that? But she let me play it because the beat, like, even she's like, yo, that's bump though. You know what I mean? It's like, all this N-word, that, F this, F that. Yeah, she's still like, yo, that beat though.
But again, that first line, Payback's a motherfucking N, that line, it's one of my favourite Cube lines, generally, because not only is it just like, bang, I'm getting you into this universe right now. Two, it's also like, all this shit you've done, you got to pay for this shit.
Yep.
This is what America hates.
Attitude, man.
And that's also like payback for you guys who have took us all from our continent, all from our countries for hundreds of years, who have made us enslavers. Yeah. This is payback. And payback is a motherfucking N-word, and you're like, boy,
crazy, man. Like, it's so well thought out, man. And even the title of the album was just like, yo, you really middle fingered these people, innit? America's Most Wanted, KKK. Someone's done it again recently, innit? They've put America.
I think it was Joe. I think it was Joey Badass, maybe.
Oh, was it?
Someone like that. Someone like that.
But it's like, look how long ago this guy did this.
Yeah. The album
cover even is just like a bunch of black people behind him. Like
it's an army.
Yeah.
And that's outside his mum's. That's outside his mum's. I think it's around his mum's house. I think that I read something about
this isn't even superimposed, is it? This is.
I think they've got people on. They have. I think just got people in. They were just like, Q, bring everyone you know. Yeah, bro.
Just bring the hood out, man.
And we're talking about Joey Badass there. I don't know if it was Joey Badass that did that, but one of our things here is like, what non-90s rapper would you have on this album?
And you know what? I found that a really interesting question because it had me proper digging. Like, who could I hear on this, and who do I even like? That's not from the night now, joke. So I went with couple West Coast guys,
okay,
and then one East Coast guy,
okay.
The first one was Ab Soul.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Ab Soul.
Just because I feel like he would have been able to touch on some of these subjects in a similar way, in a very interesting way as well.
And he'd been unique to it as well.
Yeah,
I think he brought a unique take. He usually does.
Yeah.
I like that.
And he walks that line between ignorance and intelligence as
very much so.
Like the way that Ice Cube did.
Very much so.
And then I would have put Tyler, the Creator, on there somewhere as well.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, just because I feel like the bitch is a bitch sort of stuff, and just the whole ignorant, like I feel like Tyler's got that side of him. You could tell that he's a conscious dude, but he knows that this is the stuff that sells, the entertaining bullshit, just chatting them. This, I don't know whether he's gay or not, and it doesn't matter, but I don't know if you saw recently he had this
Master Flex. Mate, that is,
it's just hilarious that he could do that. No other rapper, like
no one.
And what I loved about like Odd Future, which is the crew that he was from, I felt like they took hip hop and turned it on its head.
Absolutely.
I felt like for me it was like a cross between NWA and De La Soul.
That's interesting.
In terms of like they had this kind of hippie daisy age / like just relax and be you type thing.
Relax and be you, like Frank Ocean, but also knock a motherfucker out in the car park if need be.
Like NWA, do you know what I mean? So for me, I've never like run around like, oh, everybody should be into them. But I've gone to their concerts. I'm a fan of Tyler and all that. But I know that for some people, they're just like, what? Like you were saying earlier about Ice Cube, all they're hearing is the F this, F that, blah, 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 suck dick, da, da, da. They're not really checking out I think he's a very good musician, somebody that he's taken the time to learn chords and whatnot. And just like he's worked with Roy Ayers, he's got Erykah Badu here, things like that where you're like, man, this guy, he really does have a talent. And then he flipped hip hop on his head where now, we're in a time where mumble rap and you got people that aren't that great at rapping, but then, all these kids don't really care about the rap. It's more the energy that you're bringing. So he's like, yo, I'm going to get my friends that can't even rap to write verses. They're going to record. And then I'm just going to, I'm going to rap how I think, I could rap if I couldn't rap. You get what I mean? Like he just write a verse where it's like half of this shit doesn't even rhyme. But he's just turning hip hop on his head. Like people were still getting into it.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it would have been interesting to hear Tyler on.
Do you know what? You've sold me, man. Because at first I was like, I wonder how that would sound. But no, you've sold me. I think I would love to have heard that now.
Yeah, wicked.
Definitely.
And then finally, I'd have got RJ Payne, which is one of my favorite new rappers.
Okay.
He's from Philadelphia. He just got signed to subsidiary of Griselda.
Is that Payne? P-A-I-N-E?
P-A-Y-N-E.
P-A-Y-N-E. Yes, yeah.
But like he's one of them, every now and again you'll get like a rapper, you got Cannabis, the Eminem, you know what I mean? There'll be people that come up where you go, yo, that's like he's taking it somewhere else and it's interesting and it seems like it's non-stop. It seems like he's just forever got new stuff coming bars. Yeah, like remember when Cannabis did I think he kind of burnt himself out with the features. Like he'd done so many features and killed so many feature verses that when it came to his album, obviously Wyclef, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like it came to his album and it's like, okay, this is not what I was expecting, you know what I mean? And then, but he was an MC that even, Eminem, like people heard him and was like, yo, who is this guy? Like I was talking to Skirmish not too long ago about it and we were saying like he was one of them guys. There's very few people that do that and, but you hear them and you go, yo man, I need to go write. Like he makes you want to spit. He makes you want to go and get in a cypher. And this guy, RJ Payne, I think I've probably from last year, maybe the middle of last year, I found out about him. just by, he was like always posting up these little videos. It'll be YouTube videos and then converted over to Instagram of him just doing like 60 seconds of him spitting in the car, and it was all like all this vape, smoke and whatnot. But and it was just like really simple. But I'm saying like the videos are really simple. But in terms of him spitting, like definitely go and check him out. RJ Payne, Payne. He's just bars beyond bars. He's very good at like his patterns, as well as just like he draws from. He'll be like saying, I'm so and so with the da. But like stuff like that. Like I can't remember exactly. Like,
which
right
sounds
now
a little bit Griselda,
but
though. That sounds obviously very much like.
Well,
what
the
Griselda's
funny thing,
on
the thing is, he's got the gutter side to him, but you could tell he's a conscious guy as well.
Right.
Majority of the Griselda stuff is just rugged. Like you've got Conway, which is like, I'll kill you, I'll fuck you up, I'll kill you again.
It's kind of the same as Benny.
Yeah. And Benny's got like, he's got the street tales. Like he's still, but he's like, he talks more about the hustling side of it, and he's quite technical with his raps as well.
Loves a syllable.
Yeah, he loves his syllables. Yeah, but a man. And then you've got obviously West Side Gun, which is just fly shit. He just talks about guns and whatnot. But then RJ Payne has come into the mix, and he's just like, this, if they ever have to battle anyone, he's come from the battle circuit, but then he's forget all that. He's like, let me just show you about lyrics. And so, if they ever had to battle with anyone,
crew.
You just bring him out and he'd murder. He's got the voice, he's got the skill and the talent. And I think that he would have been a perfect sort of match on some of these beats as well. Because he's one of them guys that he's not afraid to like pick all these old school beats and just and bury like a LL Cool J beat, or bury a old school Busta
No one
Rhymes
does that
beat.
Nowadays.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
So he's showing you can rap on his new shit, but then also the older stuff. As well as what I really like about him is that he, I'm very much a rhythmic MC. I like patterns. I like, cadence and flow and whatnot. And he's one of them guys that you could be a beat without drums, without an actual beat, just a melody, but he'll make you nod to that shit just off the patterns that he's giving you. And
I love that.
Yeah, so that's a guy. I mean, it's partly I want to big him up and just get people to know him more out here, but like definitely I'd love to have heard him on the America's Most Wanted as well, man. So Absol, Tyler the Creator, and RJ.
That's sick.
Payne.
I like them three, man.
Wicked, man.
I'm going to listen to him on the way.
Yeah, check him out, man. He's sick,
man.
bro. He's got a bunch of albums out already as well. He basically just like, throw them out. You can go to his website and support him, but he's also like, just get it out there.
Tracks out there. I like that, man. Today's World, man. Perfect. Brilliant. To be fair, the only one I had off that was Immortal Technique. I was like, I would love to have heard just like a drug caper with them two, or like a political, like something happening. It's quite.
I felt like he was quite an obvious one, and I haven't heard a lot from him of late either.
Yeah, I've not.
So so I wasn't sure, but I mean,
let's go revolutionary, like noughties technique with 90s Cube. I'd have enjoyed that. I'd have enjoyed that. So what have we got here? Yes, so basically we have like Age the Best and Age the Worst. I would say Age the Best for me on this album have been the themes. Like the themes are just like like you're talking about endangered species and like, do you know what? If you listen to that track, tell me that wouldn't be like an outro on that film Get Out. Like if Get Out finished, do you know what I mean? If Get Out finished and endangered species kicking over the credits, I'd be like, that perfectly works. Perfectly works, that does. Yeah, the whole idea of like a black man in America at that time, and man, sick. And obviously the themes still stick to this day. Did you have anything for Age the Best and Age the Worst?
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less the same thing as the message. For me, what's Age the Best is the message, because it still stands now. There's still injustice. How messed up it is living in public housing is still the same. The discrimination in America is still the same, if not worse. You know what I mean? It's more, I've visited America a bunch of times, and it felt like America was like, I hate you people, but I take your money. You know what I mean? Like they almost live in harmony with the racism. Wow. So that's why all the Hispanics live here, all the blacks live there, all the whites live there, and then the only time they meet is when we got to do business together.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And so
that's systematic. That's ingrained.
Turn off the radio.
Yeah.
You still got, it's like now I'm in the car here, I'll try it. I'll be like, let me just hear what they're playing just in case. And then let me put the CD back in.
Mate, I'll turn off the radio. What's he say on there? Hold on, where he talks about selling out rappers. No, it's the end you love to hate, but he's like, I don't want to see no dancing. I'm sick of that shit. Listen to the hit.
Yeah.
Mate,
if I see
another brother on the video trying to outdance each other. I'm going to tell T-Bone to pass the bottle.
And don't give me that shit about role models. Jesus, man.
It ain't wise to chastise and preach, just open the eyes of each,
because laws are made to be broken up. What niggas need to do is start loking up and build a mold and fold themselves in the shape of the you love to hate. Like, what?
Mate, and the way
Build
you're going
a mold and fold. It's just like, bro,
mate.
man.
Yeah, sick.
The shape of the N-word you love to hate.
Mate, that's the soul train done lost their soul. Just call it train because the bitches look like hoes. Oof. Oh, mate.
Yeah, he was going in, man. And he didn't care. Like, he's like, yeah, you're offended? Good. You know?
Yes. And when you were talking there about Age the Best and you were saying like the theme of turn off the radio, you have to remember, man, like all this stuff you like, you love your new music Fridays and your Spotify, release radar playlist. You got to remember that it's coming from somewhere that has ultimate power. Like, I love it. I love having my new music. I love all that. But you got to remember, even today, like there is a person that's a little bit of a gatekeeper compared. There used to be even stricter ones. Yeah. Like, so that's what he's talking about. Is like the radios, fucking turn it off, man. You listen to bullshit.
Yeah.
But like, you may not listen to bullshit now because you have access to everything now. At the end of the day, you only have access to what you can find, right? So, like, Spotify is going to give you the shit that it wants to give you.
But then at the same time, for someone like me, I go on Spotify and listen to the stuff I want to listen to. So I go on there, I listen to Ida Kere, like, some of my favorite, like that's some Cuban band that, you know what I mean? But I know, I could go on there and support them that way. Do you know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Obviously, there's some old band from the 50s, they're like an establishment or whatever, but at the same time, they've still been putting out music since then.
For sure.
So I could support it in that way, and find music that I wouldn't have been able to find it otherwise. But then, so my point in that is that, he said turn off the radio. So we're like, okay, we make our own radio. We've got the internet now, which, we're doing a podcast. This is the new radio. The internet is the new magazine. The internet is the new TV.
Yeah.
And so it still stands what he's saying. He's like, there's going to be bullshit on TV. There's going to be bullshit on radio. But guess what? You could turn that off. And now we're lucky enough that we can. Before it was like, all right, let's go to our mates and have a little mix and put your little tunes on random or whatever. But now it's like, we can actually make our own radio.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You were saying there, sorry, man, just to go back, because I remember I had a little point I wanted to make about like turn off the radio. And I just thought I need to talk to you about this because I found it quite interesting when, he says like, he's calling out the sellouts and stuff in 1990s and commercial radio generally. And I was thinking, so that does happen then. But one of the biggest changes since the 90s for me has been that there's no actual stigma to commercial radio anymore. Like commercial success generally, the stigma in hip hop, there isn't any. There used to be, I'm sure you had the same thing. Yeah. I remember people that I knew when Jay-Z first came out, even for his first 3 albums, people here weren't loving him because all he was doing was making hits.
Talking about money.
Exactly. Yeah. And making the hits for commercial. So I was like, well, that stigma's kind of like completely gone away. So I was wondering what you thought. Like, what do you think about the stigmas nowadays? But like, what are the stigmas? Like, I couldn't really think of much apart from I had ghostwriting, I had culture, people calling Drake culture vulture and stuff like that recently. Yeah.
Look, now you got, obviously it's called mumble rap or whatever, but you got people that don't even rap that good getting crazy love, let alone like I think with the ghostwriting thing as well, like we're talking about Cube, he wrote, and it's Dr. Dre. It's like, oh yeah, Dr. Dre, everyone writes his raps for him. Yeah. There's so many people, Will Smith, there's so many people that, or you're like, oh wow, this has been going on way longer than I even thought. And so I think that's why the stigma of stuff like that kind of disappears in a way, is because, all right, so here's an example, so people talk about selling out. You don't want to be a sellout, but who doesn't want to press 5,000 copies and sell them all? Who doesn't want to do that? Yeah. So does it make sense that people go at someone for selling out? Is it more not selling your soul? And then that's what we see is when people sell their soul, like, wow, you're not the same rapper that you used to be before you sold those 5,000. Yeah. And then now, furthermore, you seem to be rapping about all this stuff that is easy to sell, like pop music. There was never music, there was just music that was made and then it became popular worldwide, or it became popular in the country. No one was trying to make pop music, but then all of a sudden people were like, oh, pop music, we're going to try and make music that sells, and then there's a difference there compared to when, just to go on like the tip of, say, have you heard of Ezra Collective? No. So like now in the UK and London in particular, there's like this surge of jazz music, new jazz music.
Yeah, I've definitely
really blowing
I've
up.
noticed that.
Yeah, and so you've got like Ezra Collective, which as far as I knew was just a small, you know, it's like maybe a 5-piece, 6-piece band doing their thing and playing in certain places. But all of a sudden now they headlined at Westholt stage in Glastonbury this year.
Oh, wow.
Like massive, yeah. And you wouldn't have 10, 15, 20 years ago, you'd never have thought that a jazz band from London
could do that.
Yeah, would be able to do that.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's changed now. And there might have been a time where other jazz musicians would, that's not, you know, that's selling out. That's not our thing. But they're making the music that they love. They're making music. It is jazz. And they're managing to become popular off of it. They're not making pop music.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it switches when people are like, I want to try and, okay. So now this is the difference now, is that everybody's trying to make the same kind of music because it's like, well, it worked for them. So it should work for me. Yeah. That's not really what hip hop's.
It never came from that.
Yeah, it never came from that. It was
copying,
being an individual. You know, it's always like, yo, this is what I can bring to the thing. This is what so and so is bringing that. Now they're all using auto-tune. Everyone sounds the same. You've all got the same voice. You
that's what
think
Cube was saying,
different.
though, isn't it? That's what Cube was saying. If you turn off that radio, which is AK the copycats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So you're gonna get the realness. So I think like, you know, that's how I feel about it anyway, man. And I'm just glad that I was blessed enough to friggin', you know what I mean, be taught all of this stuff at such a young age, because it just kept me on that lane of, okay, this is how you're gonna do it. Like I did a Sainsbury's advert like a couple years ago, 2016. So yeah, nearly 3 years ago. And I was questioning whether I should do it. Is it selling out, me doing that?
Yeah.
Am I selling out by doing a tune for a supermarket?
Yeah.
You know, but then I thought, shit, wait there. I used to work at Sainsbury's. You know, my mum worked, at the time, she was still working at Sainsbury's. She's the one who got me the job at Sainsbury's to get me off the street.
Wow.
You know, to get, like, she had to come to get me out of remand, you know, like go to Feltham.
Yeah.
This was the first time that it was like, okay, wow, I think, I don't think I'm good enough to be some kind of street robber, you know, like, and then she's like, we have to get you a job. You have to get, you know, do the straight and narrow thing. And she put me into Sainsbury's. So then years later, I was at Sainsbury's, but I was like, I wanted to do sound engineering. Then I got really ill. So the sound engineering didn't work out. But because it was like a life or death thing, you know, I was like, if I get out of this, when I was in the hospital, I was like, if I get out of this, I'm going to go for this rap thing. I'm just going to go for it. Because it's like I'm being reborn again.
Yeah, you got a chance in it.
Yeah, I've got a chance. And so that it was that sort of decision that made me just go for it like this, but knowing that I want to be this, I'm going to be me. I'm not going to try and be whatever the industry, you know, trying to sell, I'm just going to be me doing it.
Yeah.
And then fast forward how many years later, then next minute I'm like the voice of Sainsbury's. I've got a tune out with a supermarket.
That's
like,
mad.
You can buy it on iTunes. You can stream it on...
That's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But have I sold out? You know?
I mean, it's one of the ultimate questions. A cycle goes round and round, and especially in art, when you talk about like, it's a piece of art, but should it be? But everything has that nowadays.
And so I felt like, okay, so that's already, I feel justified now. It's like, yeah, I've spent all my money with these people. Furthermore, I actually used to work for them anyway. Was I sell out then? Is my mum a sellout? She works, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do the tune, do it as me, and that was when I switched from the Maestro to MysDiggi. They asked me, what name do you want to put it under? I said, yeah, it's time now, MysDiggi.
That's
Are you
interesting.
sure? I was like, yeah. And I even went to, I remember I was like, all right, I better go to PRS and sort that out, make sure that, you know, my royalties. And I was like, hold on a minute, let me just check. And I called them up. Hi, my artist name is Maestro. I just wanted to check though, because I feel like when I joined up with you guys, I might have done this. Do you have me under another name? And she said, yeah, Miss, and I was like, MysDiggi, MysDiggi. She said, yeah. I was like, bro, I knew it from then that there's a possibility I'll just switch to MysDiggi.
Mate.
So yeah, you know, so I mentioned that because that was quite a thing I was tussling with. It was like, am I sellout if I'm doing this for a supermarket and blah, blah, blah. But then the more I thought about it, and then even looking at Ice Cube, it's like, look, we're looking at the album now. Look how angry he is, Jericho. By the way, I missed out, but yeah, I think what aged badly is the Jericho. No one don't wear that shit down. So shout out to Cube for getting rid of that. But you know, look at that. And then next minute, my man's like, what was it? Are we there yet?
Are we there yet?
Yeah, all
are
these
we
kiddies.
there yet? Yeah, man, that's it.
Has he sold out, or has he just moved on and expanded what he wants to do? I did the Sainsbury's advert. Now I'm more comfortable to do the music I want to do and put it out there. I don't have to like right, okay, I'm on this level now because more people know about me. So I have to make this type of music that they would be like, nah.
Do your thing.
Yeah, I still do what
thing.
I do, yeah.
And that's the thing when I think like with Cuba, you're saying there, like, where is he now? Has he sold out? Whatever. It's same. If you've got your credit in the bank, if you've done your fearless, like, I'm down for the community, I'm down for the struggle, but I'm going to make amazing art at the same time, and you've done it for enough time, everyone gets old, man. Everyone matures.
You want him to still be angry and
exactly.
Like, he's damn near, you know what I mean, millionaire. How was he going to be angry? Of course, still be angry about what's going on in society.
Of course, he will be.
But like, he's got to expand what he's doing. He's got kids.
I don't know if you've ever watched. There's a film called Funny People with Adam Sandler in, Seth Rogen and RZA's in there as well. There's RZA's like the deli and stuff, and it's like a comedy film where Adam Sandler's like a comedian. One of my favourite bits of that. Well, it just reminds me, it makes me think, as I'm getting older, I'm like reaching 40 soon, innit? And I was like, do you know what? I'm like mid-30s now. And I'm like, there's a point in that film, he does a stand-up comedy, he goes, you know what? When you're in your teenage years, you're like, fuck you, mum and dad, fuck you. Yeah. And he goes, when you get in your 20s, you're like, fuck you, the president, fuck you. And he goes, when you get to your late 30s and 40s, you're like, I want a sandwich. You're like, do you know what? It's true.
Like, you can't be as angry as you are. Yeah.
As you get older, you're like, oh, you know what? It'd be weird it would be weird, but like, if he was still going full throttle all the time, it'd almost make me feel like, what about your kids? Or what about like, he still has anger. You listen to his new music, he still has anger, but he also has other avenues to express himself. That
it's smarter than continually saying bitch is a bitch, you know. It's like, you can't continuously say that.
Can't keep doing that.
And that's the expansion, man. And I think like in terms of hip hop though, like a lot more is accepted now because I think that's just in general, society is a lot more like, hey, you can't, you know, you don't want to upset them by saying that. So I feel like now it's almost like what it was about in a way. You know, when it started, it was like, hey, we're kind of the outcasts.
Yeah.
But look, let's come together and we're a community.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of wrong of us anyway to be like, oh yeah, gay people or, you know, I don't know, pescatarians or, you know, like us to try and, it's going to be like, we're all one, man. Come party with us. Come rave with us. You know, come breakdance with us or whatever, similar thing, you know? And so in a sense, it feels like that would be the hip hop thing to do, is kind of accept we've come from a struggle as well. And if you do make it out of that struggle, good on you, man. Like you deserve it. The sad part is that it's turned it into money worship. This is the part I don't like. Like, so we're talking about Jay-Z. I love, you know, Reasonable Doubt, couple bits of his, you know, Kingdom Come, I thought was a good album. People didn't really show that love, but I'm not into the whole money worship thing. I don't care about the billionaire business or I don't care about like all the gold and all that sort of stuff that I feel is the reason why, you know, you worship money, but guess what? Money is the reason that slavery happened. Money is the reason that war happens. So for me to worship that in the same way, I feel like I'd be a bit of a dickhead. Do you know what I mean? So that's the sad part. But, you know, this is the world that we're in. Luckily, there are people that are smart enough out there to know that, nah, that's not the way. I think it's a big shame now because we've got quite a lot of violence going on within our communities. And it all stems from money, man. It all stems from like the block. Like, who's shot in here? Who's shot in there? Oh, if they got money, let's move to them. Or, and people trying to impress the girls. You know, people make money to impress the girls. Do you know what I mean?
And these stories you'd hear from the ghetto, like from obviously Cube on this album as well, you'd hear them stories and you're supposed to learn from this shit, I would have thought.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I've never been in there, so I feel a bit wrong, like just saying that, you should learn from it when I'm not actually been in it. But like, I feel like I learned a lot of stuff from it, and I feel like the artists themselves, especially Cube, was always on that tip. For sure. And it taught me a lot, man. Like, I definitely, you learn like, okay, this life maybe isn't for me. You know what I mean? Like when he's talking about people going to jail and whatnot, and then you see a bit of it and you're like, this is quite a waste of time, isn't it? This is like, it's not really worth all that hassle, man. Eventually, you know, you live a life of crime. Eventually, if you don't get caught, someone around you is going to get caught. And so it's like, if you think you're good enough to do it, majority of us aren't. Because majority of us end up in jail. If you go, like, to me, bragging about going to jail, that's just bragging that you weren't good at the crime that you was trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, bro, stop bragging about it because you've been in there enough times that, you might want a Sainsbury's job or something. You know what I mean? So it's just a weird thing. But I think we're just in that world now where people don't want to put you down for being successful. The sad part, and funnily enough, the phrase, you can't knock the hustle, where did that come from? You know
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly, Jay-Z.
Yeah.
And it's sad because that made people go, oh, yeah. No, they're selling drugs in the community. But boy, how else are they going to make money? How, you know, or they're making music that's kind of influencing people to do more of this shit. But how else are they going to make money? You can't knock the hustle. Oh, yeah. He can't really rap. It does sound shit. But boy, you can't knock, you know.
Yeah, it's
like, where are our morals? Yeah, where are our morals lying, man?
Yeah, it's true, man. So just on this album, just to finish up, man, I had like, what is age the worst for you? What is age
the Jericho, man?
But
like I said, it's the Jericho, bro. If anything, it's pretty hard to like for me, and for me to call it my favorite album is because I've analyzed it, I've listened to it. You know what I mean? Enough times that I'm like, yo, this is the one that always gets me. There's a couple other albums like I really love Redman's
Muddy Waters.
Yeah, Muddy Waters, man. Like for me, 96 was a powerful year when it came to hip hop.
Huge year, man.
I kind of got out of it for a bit, and partly because of Happy Ice Cube. I was like, oh, hip hop, it's not. So the streets and Jungle was our hip hop.
Yeah, of course.
And then around sort of 95, 96 especially was where I was just hearing. I was hearing hip hop and thinking, yo, this is like it was bass, drums, and a bit of melody. You know what I mean? It wasn't like clangy. Sort of 93, 94. 2, 3, 4.
It smoothed out a little bit more as well.
And, and I really enjoyed that a lot.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so there was one thing you asked me to think about, which was feature Trinity.
Oh shit, yeah.
So if one of these had to make a feature on the album, who would it be and on which track? Which is, bruv, I got to spud you because that's a really, really, really good question.
Okay.
Because it helped you like put your producer hat on, your A&R hat. Do you know what I mean? Like, yo, so which beat though?
Do you know what this comes from though, right? It's because we do all these album debates. So we've done quite a few now, innit? Like a dozen album debates or so. And I was like, do you know what? The same people are turning up on the features all the time in the 90s. Meth, Busta Rhymes, and Nas. And they kill it. They are killing it. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I didn't think that these three were so dope.
Yeah.
But they're all very different.
Yeah.
So I was
wondering.
There are
reasons for it, yeah.
Yeah, like who would these feature Trinity? Who would one of these, if you had to put them on a track, who would it be?
So this was really tricky. So, I mean, it was between Busta and Nas. Because obviously, as an A&R, as a professional A&R, I've got to just have most of them talking. Yeah, well, like you can't just
with his electric guitar, man.
Yeah, and the hair, the curtains. Like you're like, bruv, come on, man. You're looking at Noel Gallagher up in here trying to tell me about hip hop.
Go mountain climbing, isn't it? Yeah.
And so first off, I was like, okay, I think it would be Nas on The Bomb.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with you.
You hear that, innit? You can hear it. Nas on The Bomb. On that production with his voice that, you know what I'm saying? I ain't even going to try and do
It's
Nas
so
on
hard,
my tired ass voice.
Black Tongue was in here trying to do that same voice. So it's really hard to do the Nas voice.
I'll tell you who's really good at it? Big Ted.
Is it?
Yeah, well, I shouldn't call him Big Ted. It's Teddy Ted. DJ Teddy Ted. He's not as big anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's really good. He actually fooled Shorty Blitz on when they used to have the show together on Kiss. Mm-hmm. And there was one time where he was like, oh, yeah, we got a special call coming in. And Shorty's like, what? And he's like, yeah. I don't know how he pulled it off, but I think he was like, yeah, I'm going to the toilet or something. And then he's like, yo, what up? Yeah. So we got a special. And then it's like, yo, what up? And it was Ted doing it. And I think he got it for a little bit. Yeah, I think he got it for a little bit.
Oh my God,
really
fair play, man. It's a hard impression to pull off.
Exactly. So I thought of that. I thought, right, Nas on The Bomb. But then I thought, and I listened to it again, I was like, yo, the N-word you love to hate. Imagine Busta on that beat.
Like early 90s Busta as well?
Yeah, even early 90s Busta, or even, when the voice might have changed a little bit, but just the hype.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Wow, Busta would have murdered that beat.
Yeah, absolutely,
so I feel like, just off your reaction, I think I'm going to go with that one.
Nah,
Busta,
I love both. I love both them, though. I love both them. Busta, to be fair, that would have been a different track, but I can see that. Busta just goes in anyway, innit?
He does go in. I'll admit, I felt like there was a time when, and what I heard was he was like recording 2 albums at once. He'll go into that studio, record, and then he'll go into the next studio when he's fit. And then, so that's why a couple of his albums, and it felt like he was just saying the same thing. Oh, my nigga, all my bitches, all my bitches, all my niggas. It was all the same.
It was very formulaic.
When I'm flowing and I'll be flowing and you be knowing that I'll be flowing, he's always talking about how he's flowing when he's rapid and
It's
that.
true.
Yeah,
but do you know what? The formula worked, man. I still was.
Yeah,
I was
it works,
even
it
on like
works.
albums like Genesis, I was still like, yeah, go on, let's go.
And
Because you know there's going to be a track on there where he's just
exactly.
like
And
breaking your
Dilla,
neck.
when you got Dilla on some of these beats,
Oh
it's
man,
like,
never
okay.
forget, man. Dilla, jeez, that's my boy, man. That's my boy. I love
R.I.P.,
Dilla, man. Love
The
Dilla,
greatest,
man. Love Dilla. But yeah, that's wicked, man. Diggy, man. That's already going to Crate 08.
Wicked,
You brought
man.
that in. You know it's going in.
Damn, I'm glad I made my case
You
and
know,
I kept it strong.
but it's true. It's true. Like even the fact that, like, you know, there was things that I can't listen to on the album. Like I find it harder to, like the misogyny and like, that kind of thing. It's harder to listen to. But the fact he has tracks that we were talking with Yo-Yo on there, he has that. He has those other tracks that to even stuff out. And like then where he went from this, like the Predator.
Yeah, the Predator.
Yeah, and like obviously Death Certificate, all that, and where he went from this, I have to say, like this is one of my favorite Ice Cube albums, so it's getting in as well, man.
America's
Love it.
Most Wanted, man. Thank you very much, Ice Cube, for this, boy. I tell you that.
Man. Yeah, when he's on, we'll bring you in, mate. When he's on, we'll both you
please,
on.
man. Please, I'll be there bowing. Like, yo, bro.
Me too, mate. Don't worry. Me too. It's what you have to present. But yeah, thank you for coming in, man.
Yeah, man,
and
all good. Thanks for having me, bro.
Doors are always open, man. And when you want to bring another album in, feel free. Or when
Definitely.
you want to just step in for a chat, it's been great chatting to you, man.
Yeah,
we
I
went on some
appreciate that.
tangents. I love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just other things. I love it, man.
I mean, this is like I said to you before we started, man. It's such a really good idea to like get artists to talk about something other than their own projects. You know, like we always come in and then we got to talk. Yeah, well, I. But this is an I, me more, and in paying homage to something that really kind of builds you. You know, like I said, this for me, I still listen to it now. Like it's fresh, but I know all the lyrics now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't feel like, I need to forward this or you know, every track for me still works the way it does. And so the fact that I could come and talk about it to somebody, for me, is a blessing. Like I can now, hopefully, the people that listen and go, yo, let me see what the fuck he was talking about, man. Let me see.
That's what it's about, though. You know? That's what it's about, man. And it's the love you bring for it that makes me love it as well. Like I love this album, but now I'm gonna bump it on the way home and have a new perspective. Yeah, the way you're bringing it.
I remember you when I said it to you. You were like, really? Oh, I never expected that sort of thing. Yeah,
because you know what? That was one of my albums I was going to bring myself to one of my debates. I thought, you know what? everyone's got Lethal Injection. Everyone's got that in their head. I've got America's Most Wanted in the back pocket, and you were like, "Oh, I'll bring America's Most Wanted." All right, here we go.
When people ask me, like my favorite rapper is Black Thought.
Okay.
You know, like, but when people ask me, oh, so your favorite album must be like Illadelph Half-Life, I'm like, no, it's actually America's Most Wanted.
Which is so different to Black Thought.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's, you know, and like I'm saying, it's just, but what they have in common is they're both conscious rappers, you know?
Exactly. I just realised that when we bring guests on, and you're the first time you come on here, we ask for top fives. And you've just said your favourite rapper is Black Thought.
Yeah.
So I'd love it if you could drop me a top five.
Top five. So here's my top five.
Okay.
Is Black Thought, Big Pun, Big L, Pharoah Monch, Doom.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
That five.
What I'd throw in
that five's so similar to my top five.
Oh, is it?
Very similar, but yeah, that is.
It's just that alien. I always think of, okay, Dead or Alive. Like, so Big Pun and Big L, that's my Biggie and Tupac. Everybody, Biggie, everybody's Tupac. But for me, these were the guys that I was listening to. Like, yo, Big L used to crack me up. And he just, you know, lyrics upon lyrics. And he had a hood vibe about what he was doing, but still quite intellectual in a way. You know, not like he was using crazy big words, but it's just like the creativity.
Yes.
Very intellectual in his creativity. Pun, flows, lyrics, you know, like just humor, stories.
Deadly, man, as well.
Pharoah Monch, Alien. Like, these are sort of people where I'm like, yo, if we had to rap battles with aliens, Black Thought, Pharoah Monch, do you know what I mean?
Rap battles with aliens.
Aliens, yeah, like you'd have to pick. And then Doom, obviously, is like...
Doom, he's in my five. But I appreciate someone bringing that in.
Yeah, wicked. And then, like, obviously, so the thing is, like, there were UK MCs that had...
For sure.
So MCD, probably, I'd throw him in there just for people to hear the... And for me, it was like, when I was coming up and... a lot of people in the UK, it was either like you're a bit yardy, a bit cockney, or a bit of both. MCD, he's from West as well, West London. And so round the corner from where I am, and then I'm hearing this voice is like, oh shit, this sounds like somebody I know, but he's rapping with and saying things as well. Yeah. So I'd throw him in there just so people know.
He's got a lot of shouts in top fives, you know.
Yeah. I mean, he's, you know, obviously you had like Bionic, with London Posse, and I picked these sort of people is because for me they sounded English. It wasn't, but Bionic was like a bit more Cockney in a way. but they sounded English. And I'd never rapped like American. It always felt weird to me to be like, yo, you know what I'm saying? And then,
it's not.
Mum, could you make sure the fish and chips is, you know what I mean? It's a bit fucking weird to, so I always found that a bit strange, but I kind of, my style originally developed off of Alkaline from Gunshot. So it's like, Dep on the mic, I rap a chat, my lyrical miming, you know, that kind of, that style. But then eventually it was like, when I was like, okay, I really want to do this rap thing, I was really ill basically and couldn't do nothing for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And so what I did do was try and work on my rap style, develop using my, you know, my voice, and just, it's not like you had to really work on your accent, but I felt like I wanted to be universal. Yeah. I didn't want to use too much slang that people wouldn't understand what I'm saying, as well as I felt like slang should just be slang. People shouldn't know what I'm saying. Like me and you could be talking, there's 3 people there, they don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it should be kept like that. Yeah. That's changed now. Slang is people, you know.
Everyone knows everything.
Yeah, everyone knows what you're talking about now.
You can Google that shit now.
Yeah.
People actually know what Cuban links means. Like, what's Cuban links about again? Don't know. Just Google it.
And so that MCD was he was like, wow, when I heard him, I was like, oh, it can be done. Like you can use your own voice, rap, and you can rhyme. There was always this thing of you felt like in American accent, you can rhyme more words. And I never really, you know, because I never felt like I needed to rap American, but I was always like, nah, man, that can't be true. Like I thought it was true. Like we had people from up north, they could kind of bend their words a bit more, you know, like in Nottingham and places like that, you can bend the words a bit more. Yeah. So it was still nuts, but you could use words that Americans,
the dialect, innit?
Yeah, the dialect and whatnot. But I was always like, nah, man, nah. Me and Jargon, the guy that from Natural Born Spitters, was always like, nah, man, you know, we can take it further with our own voices. And off the back of that, like loads of people switched from their American accents into the UK. Man. You know, so
I like that top 5 like MCD as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, that's heavy. Wicked, man. Well, thank you for coming in. Everyone, please check out Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted. Check us out at Crate808 on Twitter. If you want to go to Instagram at Crate_808.
Yeah, you can follow me at MysDiggi, MysDiggi.
Boom. Have you got anything else to plug, man?
Yeah, man, and go get that album. I got an album out now that's called Tip of the Iceberg. It's volume 3. Yeah, so Tip of the Iceberg 3. We got CDs and vinyl, as well as it's all in all the digital areas as well. Crevices and nooks and crannies, whichever.
Tip of the Iceberg is a banging fucking album title, man. I love that
Cheers,
album title,
man. Yeah, I'd actually started doing it in the noughties, like mid-noughties. It was more like for tours and whatnot. And what I do is like back then you could do the mixtape thing where you just rap on some originals, some on other beats, some you just remix other people's tunes and whatnot. But then now I want to make it more an all original thing. So all the production is you know, all the production is original and
wicked.
Yeah, there's videos out there and whatnot.
Yeah, I see you on Facebook, man. You're like killing it on Facebook, man.
Trying, boy, trying.
Yeah, man, out there. Yeah, check
I'm on my
out.
own doing it, so it is hard, but you know, yeah. But it's like you know, I enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? It's a job for me, so
yeah. It's the spirit you bring to it, though, man. So seriously, check out MysDiggi on Facebook as well.
Wicked,
and Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. So yeah, man, until the next time. Thank you, bro.
Definitely got to do it again, man.
You know, man. Peace out, bro. See you later, man.
Bless, man.